We're always told our skin is some kind of problem we have to solve. But what if the answer wasn't about fighting it, but really understanding it? Today, we're going to decode a skincare philosophy that pretty much turns everything we thought we knew on its head. It's all about working with your skin, not against it. So let's start with a kind of radical question. We all wash our face to get the dirt and oil off, right? Simple. But what if the real purpose of washing wasn't to clean, but to moisturize, to actually prepare the skin for hydration instead of just stripping it totally bare? And here's another one for you. We're always told to slather on lotions and creams to fight dryness. But think about it. You ever take a really long bath? Your skin is full of water, but as soon as you get out and that water starts to evaporate, your skin can feel even tighter and drier than before. It kind of makes you wonder if our whole approach to hydration is a little backward. And all of this leads to the central paradox of this whole philosophy: wash without washing. I know, it sounds totally impossible, right? But it's a principle that forces us to rethink, well, everything. To get how we even got here, we first have to take a look back at how modern skincare even started. So where did skincare even come from? Well, it didn't start with beauty or glamour. It started with a really basic primal need: protection. This whole story really begins the moment our ancient ancestors became vulnerable to the world around them. So picture this. Early humans lose their protective body hair, and suddenly their skin is totally exposed to sun, wind, everything. Their solution: the world's very first skincare product, just slathering on animal fats and plant oils to create a physical shield. But there was a problem. Raw oil doesn't really absorb. It just sits on your skin and oxidizes. Kind of like a guest who overstays their welcome, it just gets irritating. The real game changer was the invention of cream, this brilliant emulsion of oil and water that the skin could finally drink in. And let me tell you, this jump from oil to cream was a massive leap forward. It wasn't just about feeling lighter or more, elegant. It was about stability and absorption. For the very first time, a protective product could become one with the skin instead of just sitting on top of it. But this incredible innovation came with a catch. Yeah, the catch was industrialization. The moment creams became easy to mass produce, it kicked off this era of ingredient stuffing. Companies started packing formulas with all sorts of synthetics, making these huge promises, but a lot of the time they were just disrespecting the skin's natural defenses. Turns out just throwing more chemicals at your skin isn't always the right move. So what's the alternative to all that fighting? Well, according to this philosophy, it's to stop fighting and to start listening. It's a whole way of thinking that's built around freshness, potency, and respecting the skin's own intelligence, giving it exactly what it needs when it needs it at its most powerful state. Okay, to really get this, we need a super quick science lesson. On one side, you've got oxidation. Think of it as a process of breakdown. It's what turns a cut apple brown, and on our skin, it's connected to things like dark spots. But on the other side, you've got its exact opposite: reduption. This is a process of restoration. And the perfect example of this is vitamin C, which basically acts like an eraser, helping to undo some of that oxidative damage. Now here's the problem. Pure vitamin C is incredibly unstable. It starts to break down the second it's exposed to air and water. So how do you get it to the skin when it's still fresh and potent? The answer is a pretty genius system like this one. You start with the raw vitamin C, held stable in a low moisture cream. Then you've got a liquid lotion. The magic happens the moment you mix them together. The vitamin C is activated, ready to be delivered to your skin at its absolute peak power. And what's so smart about this is that it's actually a brilliant two-pronged attack. The raw, freshly mixed vitamin C gives you this immediate, powerful, restorative effect. But at the same time, the derivatives that are in the lotion, they convert more slowly, giving you a sustained time-released benefit. It's an instant hit and a long-term treatment, a real 1-2 punch for your skin. Now, this philosophy isn't all about high-tech chemistry. It's also about breathing new life into ancient wisdom. And there's no better example of this than a shampoo that was inspired by a centuries-old Japanese tradition. Centuries ago, back in Japan's Edo period, women didn't use all the foamy soaps we have today. To care for their hair, they used something called funori. It's a type of red seaweed that they would boil down into a sort of cleansing paste. So the original paste worked because of the seaweed's natural stickiness. Its slime would literally just entangle and lift away dirt and grime without stripping the hair of its natural oils. The modern version, it honors that exact same principle. Instead of relying on a bunch of harsh surfactants, the detergents that make all that foam, it uses seaweed extract to gently clean by entanglement. It's the same idea, just in a more refined and stable formula. So you might be wondering, if this is so gentle and effective, why did we ever stop doing it? Well, there's a reason this approach fell out of favor. Natural ingredients are a real headache for mass production. They're hard to standardize, hard to preserve. Synthetic detergents are just way, way easier. So bringing back a method like this, it takes a real commitment to putting gentleness over industrial convenience. Okay, so we've looked at the history, we've touched on the science, but what does this all actually mean for you and your routine? It's not really about specific products, it's about adopting a completely new mindset. So what is the real takeaway here? Look, the goal isn't to get you to run out and buy a whole shelf of new products. It's to inspire you to change the way you think about what your skin actually, truly needs. All right, so let's just boil this all down into a few core ideas. First, respect the barrier. Just like that seaweed shampoo doesn't strip your hair, your skincare routine shouldn't be declaring war on your skin. Second, prioritize freshness. Like that vitamin C system, potent ingredients work best when they're fresh, not when they've been sitting on a shelf for a year. And all this leads to purposeful simplicity, understanding the why behind each product and using them like responsive first aid, only when your skin asks for it, not as some rigid daily chore. It really all comes down to this simple, ancient piece of wisdom. The modern beauty industry has basically taught us that more is more. More steps, more ingredients, more products. But this philosophy argues that real skin intelligence is all about balance. Too much can be just as damaging as doing too little. And this leaves us with one final, really powerful idea. What if the goal isn't to chase this impossible ideal of perfect skin? What if the real prize is having understood skin? Learning how to listen to it, respecting its power, and just giving it exactly what it needs to be healthy. Now that is a revolutionary way to think about skincare.